Hey, welcome to piano. It's been a long month of June, hasn't it? I'm so glad you could join me today for the first lesson in my summer 2020 virtual piano lesson series. I do have to mention this though. This is actually going to be a continuation of the COVID-19 series, so that way you can keep moving in a progressive fashion throughout your piano lessons. So if you haven't done the COVID series yet, that's probably going to be the best place to start if you're an absolute beginner. If you have taken some piano in the past, then you can certainly start with this here today, okay? I'm so happy you could come. Okay, so a couple things to do first. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit that share button at the bottom corner of your screen, just letting everybody know that it's time for a piano. The second thing is if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I highly encourage you to do so, because that's going to be the place where you visit and revisit in case you need to play catch up with your lessons, okay? Also, I have a private Facebook group where I provide one-on-one feedback, and you can get theory help and ask any questions that you need for your music lessons. It is called Encore Music Makers. So if you find it on the groups tab of the main page, you'll be able to go ahead and join, okay? And the last thing is I'm doing things a little bit differently now in terms of running my donation-based studio. I have joined a platform called Patreon, okay? And this Patreon platform, there's my username, this Patreon platform basically allows me to sort of accept donations on a more regular basis. It helps you automate your donations to me. So if you're used to sending me like $1 or $2 every lesson, there's a $5 a month level you can join. Or if you send me $5 a week, you can sign up for the $20 level. Basically, I have different levels that you can choose to automate your donation. That way I can sort of get my income on a more regular, predictable basis. So if you like what we're doing here, I encourage you to go ahead and join Patreon, okay? And yeah, that's basically it. So go ahead and pull out your books, adults and teens. It's time to get started. All right, so I have my adults all-in-one course, right? So this is our level 1. So if you have your book, excellent. If you haven't, drop a comment in this live video and I'll send you a link to purchase, okay? I know some people have had some trouble on Amazon trying to get their book, so I have another source through Prima Music I can send you, okay? So just drop a comment and I will send you that link, okay? So this is the book that we're learning from, okay? A couple things to mention before we actually jump into our new songs for this week. Basically, it's like a quick review. Last session, we had learned all about different types of notes, if you recall, right? So we learned about quarter notes, whole notes, half notes, and dotted half notes, right? So like we can do a little quick review here of those, right? So here's a quarter note. Do you remember how many beats it gets? It gets 1 beat, okay? The next one we had was the half note, right? And the half note, here it is, that one gets 2 beats, okay? So when you see it in your music, you're gonna hold it for 2 beats. Next we had our dotted half note, and that one is 3 beats long. So when you encounter that in your music, you're gonna hold it. And lastly, we have our whole note, right? And if you can guess, probably, this is gonna give you 4 beats in your music, okay? So that was just a quick review. Another thing to review were our hand positions, right? So we had learned pieces of music to start in something called C position, right? And that C position, you're putting your right hand thumb on middle C, if you can recall where that was. And then your left hand thumb is on G below middle C. Let me show you what that looks like real quick. All right, so this was our C position that we learned, right? So here's my middle C. I put my thumb there for my right hand, And then I count down from middle C, 1, 2, 3 notes. And that's where I put my hands that's where I put my left hand for C position, okay? Now that was the first position we learned. We also learned G position, if you can recall, okay? So let's do a quick review of where G position is, right? So I have my hand here, my right hand, in C position with my thumb on middle C. But in order to get to G position, I need to move my thumb up to where my pinky is. That's my finger 5. So I'm going to do this little switch here and put my thumb there now. And I fan out my fingers. That is where my right hand goes for my G position, right? For the next, the left hand, we find the D that has been here near middle C, and that's where my left hand thumb goes now. And I just fan out those fingers where my finger 5 left hand is on G. Now that's called your G position, right? This is all review from the spring, okay? Now let me go back to regular view so you can see my crazy hair. And let's talk a little bit about time signatures, okay? Do you remember what a time signature was? Yeah, so, okay, it's basically, you see these numbers at the beginning of your music, right? The top number is telling you how many beats or how many counts are going to be in each measure, okay? So in this case, if you see 4, 4, the 4 is the number of beats per measure, and the bottom 4 is telling you the type of note that's going to get the beat. And in this case, this is going to be the quarter note, okay? Yeah, and these numbers can change. We'll encounter those in our book, okay? We also learned about intervals, right? So intervals are how we measure distance in music. We got really fancy in this class because we had learned about harmonic intervals, which is when you play notes at the same time, and melodic intervals is when you play notes separately at varying distances. So we learned seconds, we learned thirds, fourths, and fifths. Did you know that you've learned so much stuff already? It's pretty amazing. So give yourself a thumbs up for that. That's really awesome. We also learned some basic chords, right? So we learned the C major chord. That was at C, E, G, right? We also learned about the G7 chord, right? And that was dropping your right hand thumb down to B and playing your 4 and 5, F and G. Yeah, it sounds really, really cool. We also learned the F major chord, which our thumb, right hand, goes back on that middle C. But then we stretch out our finger 3 up to F and our pinky 5 up to A. So let's listen to that. Yeah. You'll find all of these things in our music, the first part that we had learned. If you are stuck on any of these things, make sure to go back in the COVID-19 series and see if you can find those concepts, okay? We also learned about slurs, right? So if you remember what a slur was, it's playing smoothly connected, right? As opposed to playing everything separately. We also learned about tied notes, which is where we add the value of a note if it's on the same line or space together. So it's like a super mega note. You just hold it for a really long time. And that's basically the review, right? You've learned a ton of stuff, but don't worry. If you're stuck on any of it, ask in the group or go back into the videos from the spring and you'll be able to figure those things out, okay? Don't ever feel ashamed that you have to ask me. That's my job. I'm here to help you learn it. So let's go ahead and get our books now, though, okay? We're going to get a new song. So open your book to page 54, okay? 54. On page 54, you will see a song called Money Can't Buy Everything, okay? Yes. All right, so if you're there with me, that is an amazing thing. All right, so the coolest thing about this song, Money Can't Buy Everything, is that we're learning about sharp signs, right? Sharp signs. Oh my gosh, you probably see it at the top of page 54 and you're like, that's a hashtag. No, it's not a hashtag. It's a sharp sign, okay? And it actually changes the note that the sharp sign is written on, right? It's right next to the note, but it does something to that note. What it does is it pushes it up a half step, okay? In that idea, I'm going to switch to piano view, and I'm going to show you what adding a sharp sign does, okay? When a sharp sign appears before a note, it applies to that note anytime in the measure, okay? So I'm going to put my hand in C position, just my right hand. And I have my thumb on C, right? But when I say sharp the C, I'm going to take that C and I'm going to go up a half step. When I say up a half step, I mean to the note closest to it, to the right. So going this way, right? So I'm going to go up to this black note. This black key is a C sharp, okay? Now let's do a little quiz. Let's see if we can find an F sharp, okay? So if we can recall, our F is going to be a finger 4 in my right hand in C position. But if I'm going to sharp my F, I'm going to move one note to the right, whether black or white, up. So that's going to be there. Wow, yeah, that's kind of cool. Now, let's make it even more interesting, okay? I have my hands in C position, right? Let's put our hands in G position, all right? So remember, let's move our thumb right hand where my pinky is right now. I'm going to move it over and then fan out those fingers, okay? The same thing goes for the left hand. I'm going to put my pinky where my thumb is on G and fan out those fingers. We have essentially moved our hands to G position, okay? Now at the top of 54, you will see A sharp and C sharp, okay? Let's see if we can find those sharps, okay? Now that we have our hands in G position, you find that an A sharp is going to be your right hand 2, moving up a half step to the black note right next to it on the right side, not on the left side, but on the right side. Okay, pay extra close attention. Let's see if we can play that note. Yeah, let's play it again so you can just hear it. There it is. Good. So that's an A sharp. But now there's another note that we have to play. A C sharp. Now, when we're in G position, a C is going to be your finger 4 in your right hand. So go ahead and play a regular C. That's your finger 4 right hand. Go ahead and play it. Good. All right, so now we're going to sharp it. See if you can find the sharp. The first note to the right, whether black or white. So up a half step puts me here. There is my C sharp, okay? It's getting kind of crazy, huh? Are you keeping up with the sharps okay, or is it getting a little bit tricky? It's a little tricky. That's okay, because remember, on Mondays, I do a practice session, okay? So if you need extra practice time at the piano with me, I will be going live again on Monday to do a practice session, okay? So it's called Practice with Me. So if you find that today's lesson is a little bit hard, join me Monday and we'll work on it together, okay? Now I'm going to switch back to piano view and I'm going to take a look here at my G position. And I noticed that Money Can't Buy Everything, the song that we're learning, is in G position. So lucky us, all right? I see that it's also 4/4 time signature. It's a nice loud forte, and it's going to begin with a finger 5 on D, okay? So we have this pattern here. 5, 5, 4, 5. Okay, D, D, C sharp, D. All right. Notice that finger 4 is on that C sharp up there. All right. So let's see if we can play through Money Can't Buy Everything. I will play it very slowly, and that way you can follow along in your music. Okay? Let's give it a try. I'm going to count off. 1, 2, ready, play. C sharp, D. Now B again. B, A sharp, B, G, G, G. Very good. G up to B, A, G, A, A. Very good. A up to C, B, A. Now all the way up to D, D, B, G. Very good. All right, now this section's piano, nice and quiet. D, D, C sharp, D, B, B, B. Hold, B again. B, A sharp, B, G, G, G. Very nice. Last line. G up to B, A, G, A, A, A. Hold. Now surprise forte. A up to C, B, A, G, B, G. All right. That was trickier than I thought it would be, right? There's some really interesting things going on here, okay? You noticed the left hand sort of like gives you a break, right? Every other measure, you're playing the left hand, right? And you're playing harmonic chords, right? The first time the left hand comes up, you're playing a fifth. So that's going to be a G and a D, right? G on the bottom, D on the top. Now, you have a measure of rest, and then you have a third that comes in. And it says to use fingers 1 and 3, so that's putting you at a B on the bottom and a D on the top. Okay? We're very lucky in that these 3 chords repeat themselves, right? Each time you encounter a left-hand measure, it follows a pattern, right? Quarter, quarter, half note. It's kind of nice. All right, on line 2, you are playing a second for the first chord in the left hand. That's a C and a D together. There it is, yeah. If you need to write those note names in, you can absolutely do that. The very last measure of the second line for the left hand, you've opened up that second now to a third, a harmonic third. And you're playing B on the bottom with a D on top, okay? And that's repeated 3 times. Now, when you get into line 3 and line 4, the pattern for the left hand is just repeated like the first 2 lines, okay? So it starts with a fifth, that's a G and a D. Then it goes to a third, a B and a D. Then a second, a C and a D. And it ends on the B and a D, a third, okay? So if you were able to write all that down in your book, then you're in really good shape, okay? Now, for Money Can't Buy Everything, I would like to play through it once more, okay? Let's see if you can try and keep up with me. See if you can maybe choose either just the right hand line or just the left hand chords and see if you can keep up, okay? Let's give it a try. You're gonna do great. All right, so let's try this here. All right, so we're gonna find our G position to start. So there's my C. I'm gonna count up D, E, F, G, and there's where my thumb goes for my right hand. Now, same thing here for my left hand. I found my C, pinky, and I'm gonna count up D, E, F, G, and that's where my pinky goes now, okay? Now I'm gonna count off, all right? See if you can keep up with me with either the right hand melody or the left hand chords, okay? I'm going to be saying the note names in the right hand as I play this time, okay? Let's count off. 1, 2, ready, play. D, D, C sharp, D, B, 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 hold. B, B, A sharp, B, G, 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 hold. G, B, A, G, A, hold. A, C, B, A, D, B, G, hold. D, D, C sharp, D, B, 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 hold. B, B, A sharp, B, G, 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 hold. G, B, A, G, hold. A, C, B, A, G, B, G, hold. Yeah, that is a really, really good song to start the summer series. I like that one quite a bit. Okay, so Money Can't Buy Everything. It is a tricky song. It introduced a really crazy concept with our sharps, but I have faith in you. You are going to do wonderfully. Just keep the practice up, okay? And remember, Monday, join me if you can, or catch the video later on YouTube for practicing, okay? I like doing the practice videos because it really gives me a chance to drill and work on those really tricky spots that we encounter. Also, if you're in the private group, you can ask a question and be like, I don't get line 3, or I don't understand this measure, or is there a better way to play this? That's why the group is there, okay? Use it to your fullest advantage. That's what you're getting with joining my studio. Okay? I am just so happy that we're getting this song, all right? Now, there is also, if you flip your page to page 57, okay? 57. There is like a really crazy thing written on here. It's like an exercise, okay? So on page 57, this isn't necessarily a song. This is more like technique and skill building in your fingers. We're basically trying to make our fingers stronger. So there's a technical exercise called the Leshatisky solution, and this solution is basically to help strengthen those fingers that might need a little bit of extra help, okay? And there's a certain technique of how we go about this, okay? So if you look at page 57 at number 1, okay? Number 1. This is going to be in a G position, all right? So go ahead and write that there. G position, okay? And what it's basically showing you is you are going to be using all 5 fingers in a G position. You're going to press them all down at the same time. Sounds kind of crazy, huh? But then you notice that just finger 1 is going to play as a quarter note. Listen carefully. And then I repeat it. Okay? It sounds kind of bizarre, but what it's doing is it's isolating each finger in order to build the finger muscles up, okay? I'm going to switch to piano view so you can see what number 1 on page 57 sounds like and looks like, okay? Let's take a look here. All right, so I'm here in my G position, right? And notice all of my fingers are going to be going down, okay? And then my thumb is going to be playing a quarter note very evenly underneath, okay? Listen carefully. Here we go. Repeat. There you go. Sounds interesting, huh? So then it moves on to number 2. It's the same pattern, but instead of keeping 2, 3, 4, and 5 down, you're going to switch it up. You're going to keep 1, 3, 4, and 5 down, and you're going to play the quarter note sequence with your finger 2. Okay, listen to what that sounds like. Repeat. Isn't that interesting? Let's see what it looks like here at Piano View, okay? I'm playing number 2 on page 57, lifting my finger 2 now instead of my finger 1, okay? I'm going to try and keep it as even as possible with the notes. Okay, now it moves on. Okay, you're moving on now to finger 3, to number 3. Same thing, all the fingers are going to go down, but that quarter note repeated pattern is going to be done with the finger 3 now. Okay, let's see what that sounds like. Interesting, huh? So now it continues to finger 4. Let's see what that sounds like. That one's really hard. Okay, so a couple things to note about finger 4 and finger 5, or number 4 and number 5 here for the right hand. They want you, in order to strengthen those fingers 4 and 5, because they are the weakest ones on your hand, to try and lift that finger 4 and finger 5 in that repeated pattern as high as you can from the keyboard, okay? I'll switch to Piano View so you can watch me, okay? I'm going to try the finger 5 version now, okay? Listen carefully and watch. Okay, did you see that? It's kind of weird. These are things and exercises that I try to do to strengthen those fingers 4 and 5, right? Because they are the weakest, right? And it's even weaker on the left hand. So imagine when you start the same pattern for number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the left hand. You're going to notice that it's going to be tricky. It's going to be really tough. But I think with good practice, keeping it as steady as you can, it's going to be just fine, okay? So you'll be doing that exercise for this week's practice, okay? Remember, I'll go over this again on Monday, okay? Wonderful. Now, you have your book open. I want you to flip back to page 55, okay? 55. 55, you have something that says writing the sharp sign. Yes, this page here, 55, is going to be your theory for today, okay? So your music theory homework is just one page, page 55, and it's all about the sharp sign, okay? Try and do your best to do your theory concurrently with your lesson and your piano practice, because they just reinforce the learning that we have here at the piano, but you're reaching it a different way by writing it, okay? So keep that in mind, okay? All right, so that basically concludes our lesson for today. I did want to give you a quick reminder. I am accepting tips, and if you can do it regularly, I would greatly appreciate it. Remember, on Patreon, okay? So you can support me on Patreon. I have this here. It says support me on patreon.com/IzzyChia, okay? Remember, you can sign up for a level as low as $5 a month or even as high as $50 a month, depending on the type of interaction and level of help that you want from me, okay? So I would appreciate that quite a bit. And last, but definitely not least, every single lesson, if you've watched any of them before, I always end with an inspirational music quote, okay? So let me give you today's quote. So today's quote comes from the English novelist Mary Ann Evans, whose pen name is actually George Eliot. But this is what she says. Life seems to go on without effort when I am filled with music. Life does get a little bit easier when you have music to help you get through your day, doesn't it? It certainly makes my day a lot better. I'm happier, I'm in a better mood. It just makes me feel more in tune with who I am. So that was today's quote. Thanks again for joining me today for piano. Remember, if you need anything at all, hop in the music group and ask a question, or even just drop a comment here on the live video, and I'll answer as soon as I am able to, okay? Thanks again. I will see you guys very soon. I'll see you Monday for practice with me, and if not then, I'll see you in the private group, okay? Take care, everybody. Bye.